Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Alex's Sports Talk Show. Today's episode was going to be a little different. I was going to have a special guest on my show. His name is Mike, and unfortunately he could not come through. But don't worry, Mike. I know you're watching. I know you wish you were here. This one's going to be for you. Okay, so free agency in the NBA has been very, very productive and very active. It's crazy to see how many free agents there were this year in the NBA, and to see where they ended up it's crazy to me. As I mentioned in my last video for my free agency predictions, 40% of the league went into free agency. 40%. With all these moves that have been made too during this past week, the NBA seems more wide open than it has ever been in a long, long time. So we are going to talk about the NBA free agency, where different players ended up, whether it was a smart or non-smart move, talk about some questions associated with it, and kind of discuss, some most improved team, quality signings, kind of under the radar signings, and then Thompson here with some breaking NBA free agency news. Kawhi Leonard has signed to a new team in LA. But wait a second, there's two teams in LA. Which one could he have signed to? Oh, he signed to the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers. Breaking news part 1. So Kawhi signs to the Clippers, not the Lakers. Huge signing by the Clippers, and now the NBA is wide open because this move. But wait, we're not done. Breaking news part 2. Los Angeles Clippers trade for Paul George. Clippers trade for Paul George. They give up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, second-year point guard out of Kentucky, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. So not only do the Clippers get Kawhi, they get Paul George. Clippers, Jerry West, Steve Ballmer, Doc Rivers making big boy moves. Big boy moves. Alright, so Clippers made some moves. Now let's see what their roster looks like right now. PG, Pat Beverly. Shooting guard, Landry Shamet. Small forward, Kawhi Leonard. Power forward, Paul George. Montrezl Harrell, center. Six man coming off the bench. 3-time six-man winner, Lou Williams. Mo Harkless in the trade from Portland that initiated by the Sixers and Heat sign and trade with Jimmy Butler. Ivica Zubac. This team looks good. This team is scary good. Their title odds went from, maybe in contention to the number 1 contention. They are plus 300 to win the NBA Finals in the 2019-20 season. Lakers are at a plus 400. So Lakers are still right there. Clippers are the number 1. The Bucks are also a plus 400. So top 3 teams to look out for, according to Caesars, is Clippers, Lakers, Bucks. But wait, the Lakers didn't get Kawhi, so how are they going to fill their roster out? Good question, audience. Well, I got the answers. The Lakers signed a 1-year deal with DeMarcus Cousins and a 2-year deal with Danny Green. They re-signed JaVale McGee to a 1-year deal, and they re-signed Rondo to a 2-year deal, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to a 2-year deal. Now, that's good for the Lakers, getting some quality starters. It's not no Kawhi Leonard, not no biggest super team ever assembled, but hey, it's still good. This is the most balanced the NBA has ever been now. Now you have a true race in the West. Clippers, Lakers, Portland, Nuggets, Jazz could be a sleeper team. Maybe the Rockets. They had a 53-team win last year, and they didn't lose anybody. They didn't sign anybody, but they didn't lose anybody. So still got the same team coming back. Wide looks wide open. Thanks for tuning into the breaking news. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, so Kevin Durant
went to the Nets.
He signed a 4-year, $164 million deal. I kind of like this. At the same time, I don't, because he went there to team up with Kyrie, another great point guard who he's had alongside him. He's had Steph and he's had Russell Westbrook. Now just adds another elite point guard to his team, which is Kyrie. I like the move because he's not going in solo to save a franchise like the Knicks. However, though, having that big of an injury in tearing his Achilles, he's missing next year for sure. Year 2, we honestly don't know what Kevin Durant is going to be like, so we don't know if we're going to get the same Kevin Durant or if we're going to get 80% Kevin Durant, 60% Kevin Durant, and then year 3, I think, is when he slowly starts to progress back to his former self. But just the uncertainty, but at the same time, you have to go all in on a guy like Kevin Durant because he's a 6'11 shooter with handles, and definitely one of the top 3 people in the NBA today. The Warriors offered him a 5-year max contract. The Knicks didn't due to his injury, and then the next game, Knicks offered him a max contract because you can't play around when it comes to a type of player like Kevin Durant is. Talked about Kyrie. Kyrie also went to the Nets, 4 years, $142 million. I love this move because he gets to go. He actually gets to choose where he plays. He's going back home to Brooklyn, and he actually brought another star with him to the Nets instead of losing him to KD to the Knicks. So Nets got the clean sweep. It's been the news recently. Actually, I also really like this because both these guys, KD and Kyrie, took smaller contracts so the Nets could bring in big man DeAndre Jordan on a 4-year, 40 max deal. Also like that. That means you're creating somewhat of a super team in Brooklyn, and they've already have the core young pieces: Joe Harris, Dinwiddie, Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert. I would qualify DeMarre Carroll as a good two-way guy. For them, not a top two-way guy, mind you, but just a good two-way guy. Other big names: Klay Thompson went back to the Warriors, 5 years, $100 million. Jimmy Butler did a sign-and trade with Miami. He got a 4-year, $142 million. The Sixers picked up Josh Richardson in that trade, and then by having Jimmy Butler moving to Miami, the Sixers signed Tobias Harris on a 5-year, $180 million contract, and they also signed Al Horford, a 4-year, $109 million contract, who went from the Celtics to the Sixers. I definitely think the Sixers are going to be a problem in the East for sure, because you have Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris. Now you're bringing in Al Horford, 13-7 guy, great veteran presence, playoff experience, going to help these guys in the locker room as well. But we already know that Joel Embiid gets injured. I wouldn't say a lot, but he has to take some time off due to his injuries. And so by having Horford, and you can either start him at the 4 or you can plug him in at the 5 when Joel is unable to play. So good depth, good locker room experience, and veteran experience. Definitely going to help you get those rebounds against some of those bigger teams in Toronto, Milwaukee Bucks, and the Raptors, for instance. Kemba Walker went to the Celtics, replacing Kyrie, 4-year, $141 million deal with the Hornets in a sign-and trade. So Celtics got Kemba Walker, Hornets got Terry Rozier, who signed on a 3-year, $58 million deal. Don't know if he deserves that much money, just because you don't know what Terry Rozier you're going to get. Are you going to get Scary Terry, who's in the playoffs, or are you going to get this year's Terry, who shot, I think, 30 and 30 from the field, and not quite the playmaker that Kemba or Kyrie is. Another big name that moved is D'Angelo Russell in his sign-and trade to the Warriors. He got a 4-year, $117 million. He got sent to from the Nets to the Warriors, and they also had to release Andre Iguodala for cap reasons. I like this I like this because you're filling KD's role with another All-Star. I'm sure he might be young, not as talented, but you're also bringing in another guard for your backcourt, especially with Klay Thompson out at least till after the All-Star game, which is good. He averaged 21 points, 7 assists, pretty good. Actually, really good for a 23-year-old who had some issues previously in his years in the league, but he's definitely matured. Also helping that backcourt in the Warriors with Klay Thompson, he averages over 20, shooting 40 and 40. But once you get back, I'm sure they'll put Klay at the 3 if they want to run all 3, because eventually you will want to do that in some aspects, because those are probably going to be your leading scorers. Also signed back Kevon Looney, great ad, because DeMarcus Cousins is unrestricted free agent, and you're not really bringing Bogut's not the same player he was. Draymond Green's a great 4, iffy 5, sometimes great defensive player though, but he can't be doing all the work. So great there. And also, I'll talk about this later, a great signing they had is Willie Cauley-Stein from the Kings. Just more depth and more defense to the Warriors. Other big names that moved, Malcolm Brogdon from the Bucks did a sign and trade with the Pacers. He's got a 4-year, $85 million deal. This is really good because he is a great young two-way guy. Definitely can provide offense and passing abilities to Victor Oladipo when he comes back. So I know that was a huge question was the offense when Oladipo went down, and now not only did they sign Malcolm Brogdon, but they brought in T.J. McConnell and a couple other guys to help fill offensive needs. So let's just kind of talk about some of the contracts where people move. Now let's kind of get into the interesting stuff. So out of these teams in free agency in the NBA, which has the most improved roster or the most improved team? I have 2 choices, maybe a number 3 if they can get said person. The Utah Jazz, Brooklyn Nets, and then the Los Angeles Lakers. About a month or so in June before the NBA awards, before I think the playoffs ended, the Utah Jazz traded for Mike Conley out of Memphis. They sent Jay Crowder, Grayson Allen, Kyle Korver, and I believe a first-round pick in exchange for Mike Conley. This is great because you get an experienced veteran guy who can run the point and actually score. Definitely a guy who can average 15 points, 8 assists for you daily, maybe even pushing the 20s, low 20s for you on a good night. And then you also bring back Donovan Mitchell. Another deal they signed Bogdanovic from the Pacers. I want to say it's a 4-year, a $73 million contract. This dude is really, really good. He shot 49.7% from the field, 42% from 3, and he had 80% from free throw. So almost a 50, 40, 90 type of guy. Averaged 18 points, so that's instant offense for you guy, and he's also a decent defender too. Not one of his strong suits, but he can defend unlike most guys in this league. So that was a great signing as well. So you have Mike Conley and you have Bogdan Bogdanovic. Unfortunately, they had to get rid of Derek Favors, but that's okay because they have good depth where they can fill up, and they also have Joe Ingles coming off the bench who can kind of play that 3-4. Next, the Brooklyn Nets. They got KD and Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan. Garrett Temple too, great undersigning, great role player to come off the bench. Those 2 guys speak for itself. KD and Kyrie, definitely 2 of the top 10 players in the league, and they got him over the Knicks. So now the little brother of New York is definitely going to be starting to be the franchise of New York, and it's not going to be the Knicks because due to various reasons, which I'll break down later. Don't worry. We'll get there, Knicks fans. It's not over for you yet. AT gonna get you too. Most deteriorate. Oh yeah, and then my sleeper team for most improved team is the Lakers if they sign Kawhi, because not only did they trade for Anthony Davis and definitely get one of the top centers in the league, but also you have LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, and then if you get Kawhi too, that's one of the top 2 players in the league, and then that will just make for chips for the Lakers, which I'm pretty excited about. Most deteriorated team now, so going from most improved to most deteriorated. Warriors, Lakers, Hornets, and Knicks. Warriors because they had to get rid of KD. Clay, due to his injury, losing him is going to be hurting them. Jordan Bell signed to the Timberwolves. They lost DeMarcus Cousins as well, losing some of that bench off as well. So, the Warriors are still going to be good, don't get me wrong. Definitely not going to host a playoff game, but they're still going to compete, and they're still going to be in the playoffs. Lakers, because they traded a lot of their roster for Anthony Davis, and they also traded away a bunch of their young developing guys to the Wizards so they can clear up cap space to sign Kawhi if needed, but also get some other free agents and other shooters around LeBron. The Hornets as well, they lost Kemba, and that was their star. They don't have anybody else on that team. So the Hornets are still going to be lower end of the East as per usual. And then the Knicks claimed they were going to get all these high-name free agent names, but they didn't. But they didn't, essentially. So they promised their fan base and the league that they were going to get these guys, and now they pretty much look like a fool. Best signing that the Knicks have had, Julius Randle. And yes, out of their 4 or 5 free agents, Julius Randle is the best. Obviously, if RJ coming in from the draft was going to be pretty much the go-to guy for this.